Peace and blessings, family. Sister Ajali. This should be short. That would be amazing. Um, Trevor, Noah, I can't even remember the guy's name. Trevor Noah. I wouldn't be talking about him. I He's famous, and so that to me automatically qualifies you as utterly dull and useless to us as black people. This won't be no, this won't be short. I realize now as I'm editing it together, I have to put in stuff I didn't say. But I was just sort of looking around for who exactly is Trevor Noah, because really I've never watched him whatsoever. And he's on board with the, just whatever the kind of Democratic Daily Show leaning narrative is, the wokery is. He's been pretty much, from what I've seen, on board for it, including he did this little skit, breaking news, vaccinated man is fine, because he was heavily pushing, heavily haranguing anybody who wasn't pro get that jabberoonie dooney, and that was the wise move to make, even though I further also know there's no such thing if you haven't proven it using Koch's postulates and separate it out. I mean, the agenda is just wild. So this guy is not only a celebrity, but he may also just be a participant in the propaganda that is being foisted on the entire planet. But he just came out with a comment and a conversation with a sister named Rua. I don't remember her last name either. As soon as you're in those echelons, you are irrelevant to me. And Trevor proves that to be the case, even though he came out with a statement that was so like one of those things they make you thirsty, not thirsty, but hungry, ravenous to hear, which is separation. That I'm not the first person who's ever mentioned any of that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was, and also just George Washington Carver. Oh no, Booker T. Washington. He was the one who just was like, look, just leave him alone. He wouldn't say any more, but he said, yo, we got stuff to build for ourselves. He was truly far more amazing than they portrayed him in the history, in order to make it seem as if he was some sort of suck up to the pale folks. And no, he wasn't. So yeah, but I realized that there's a whole education, that process we've had to go through in order to get to the point where we would know why. It's a wonderful thing to separate, because if you don't love yourself, then you're not really going to be about protecting that separation. For me, my battle was just confirmed by a quote I got from the movie Gladiator, of all things, which is, you fight not because you think you'll win, you fight because what you'll be giving up if you don't fight. You can't live without, and that's black us. From an early on age, even my youth, even though I had a lot of stupid stuff to figure out, I recognized I loved being black. I loved and just from the physical aspect, what it looked like, so that I always, right now I'm way too pale for my taste. But I still had many, many things to learn, that we're not the worst people on the planet. We're not the stupidest people on the planet. We literally did start civilization. It's just all the propaganda. It's infused into our brains so that, step by step. One day I looked in the mirror when I was a young lady at my latest weave, which had been ratted up by the rain, and I was like, what's wrong with my natural hair? And then I realized that I don't need to have attributes that belong to a whole nother race of people on me as if somehow or another that's a compliment to me. No, embracing what I was made to be. That's what's so powerful. So the more I found out about us, the more I was like, oh, them people are great. And I also realized this false narrative that we have to be perfect is just a whole bunch of BS, because if they're going to genocide the world, then they have to have legitimate reasons for that genocide in order to justify it. So they have to be perfect, not us. There's no such thing as perfection, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. There's no such thing as equality. They kind of want, I don't even think they never want us to separate, but if they could acknowledge, okay, you could be separate, but you have to be just like us. That's usually, well, gee, they're real people. They're just like us. No, we're not. No, we're not. And that's a beautiful thing, because they got some things going on with them that demand somebody be checking out what they do. Not that that's our job, but still, if we want a planet, with Fukushima, they popped off. They keep hidden. I showed the little segment from Martin Fackler talking back in 2012 about hiding, covering up the totality of the radiological contamination from Fukushima, which you can still see the trajectory of that contamination. All right? And so obviously, if we want a planet, we need a diversity of cultures that aren't the same, that aren't just going to be beholden. And that's my problem with Trevor. Because Trevor right here in this meme, or not meme, but little thumbnail, is a suck up to the pale folks, to the white people. All right, he's in saying what he said, that, was integration really a wonderful thing? I know he doesn't mean that. He doesn't mean that at all. He wants to stay relevant in the media to keep his job, like Don, what is it, the other guy who got fired, the gay dude. And there's rumors as to, I don't know, I'm just reporting what I read. There's rumors that Trevor himself may be like, hiding a sausage in places it doesn't belong. But I saw, like a little story about how he was kissing on this white girl. He's biracial. He's not black himself. And so when I see his origins, he's from South Africa. And right now they are trying to resurrect the whole lying narrative that somehow or another white people belong in South Africa. No, they don't. And that land that they stole, they still have the overwhelming majority of it. Ain't no starving, beat up people in South Africa unless they did it to themselves, because they're so pitiful. Okay? Trevor comes from there. If you talk about operations, psychological mind bending, there's huge amounts that have gone on in South Africa. I can't, I was once put in connection with a South African person, and once I was like halfway through the conversation, I kind of pissed them off a whole bunch, because they were trying to ask me, well, if you kind of work in the system, you could probably change it more. And I was like, what? Why in the world would I? You can't unbreak something that's just broke. Okay? And so from that interaction, I was like later on saying to myself, they got a lot of funny people up in South Africa. Elon Musk is just the tip of it, okay? And so I'm not accusing Trevor of anything in particular, but I know that these, multiple demons are just running according to a script. When you see like these guys, Trump and Elon, just being all deferential to Netanyahu and his political party, you can't, come on, you can't even say anymore, then there's a long-term script going on here. And so Trevor, even though he grew up in South Africa, has a black mother, and his Swiss white father was not in the picture, according to an interview he did. I read that, he was surrounded by women and black women. He was surrounded by black women who didn't like themselves, in my firm conclusion, because he described his mother as saying, "I'm going to get me a white man." Why in the world would you want to do that? There's two ways to be black. You're either going to be, or to be taken over by whiteism. You're either going to be absolutely ignorant, or you're going to be completely aware of what you're doing, and you just sit back and you accept the propaganda that says we're the worst people on the planet. I highly recommend watching what's going on in China these days. I have a playlist called "We Are Not the Worst," and I just keep adding stuff when I don't add everything, because I watch a lot of economic details about what's going on in China. But when it comes to like the Damas and all, I'm all the best. I wish the Chinese people the best. They could work it out. I wish everybody the best. But I'm just saying, we're our own separate people and we don't have to be perfect. But when you have this mindset, like I would say, coming from a black mother who, I gotta get myself a white man, and she got herself a Swiss white man. There is no way you are going to look at black us and think that, whoa, am I lucky? I got even a little shred of blackness in me. I'm talking about Trevor. Both my parents were black. Thank you very much. My mother was a little bit white skinned, but she was light skinned, but she was black. And if you went up to her and you said anything, you light, even if you said you were light skinned to her, and she would cuss you out. My mother, who never said a cuss word, would cuss you out. She never said anything untoward about being black as you can get, okay? So I'm just saying, Trevor, I don't see any pictures of him with any black woman. So, and I mean real, ostensibly black. So obviously for him to come out with, maybe integration was a bad thing, I would assess that's to keep his mindset in charge. Even when it comes to reparations, I'm always going to let you know, it's a bribe. It's a bribe, okay? It's still going to leave pink folks in charge of our judicial systems, so they work against us. I even predict that Trump might, because he's got so much of his MAGA crew just like zombie-like addicted to him, so that they don't see, him like pushing Netanyahu, pushing his chair up to the conference table, and all sorts of things that he's doing. Anyway, but yeah, I think that Trump is going to offer reparations, and his crew will sit back and say that that's perfectly fine. The separation, if the Trevor Noahs of the world are in charge of it, so we're all running saying, "Oh, Trevor, thank you, you're a hero, you non-black person," and then it is still not going to work out. These people have sold us such a hedonistic, materialistic mindset that it's going to be difficult enough just kind of get us to snap away from false ideas of what success is. Success is the ability to protect each other from all assaults. That's success. This is one of my favorite photos. I have it as my lock screen because it starts my morning out right. And I forget the photographer that the photo was taken by. And it actually makes me want to, get misty and all the rest of it, because it's something that I am not recommending poverty for us, but this attachment to stuff while we have there's a certain freedom that comes when you're not trying to kiss up to the pale folks' idea of what success is, so that you just have a wonderful freedom, a wonderful release of, just like putting on airs. That's what it is. And I'm not describing it well enough. But there's a level of joy in these children's faces, and they're being so utterly creative in their destitution. I don't want this for anybody, but at the same time, there's this lie that you can't be happy unless you're in a McMansion or a mansion at least, so that these people will sell their souls to the devil himself, so that they don't have the embarrassment of what, being jubilant, not having to worry about everybody else has just as little as you do, so you don't even know you don't have anything. But these folks, I mean, if I see another photo of Jay-Z doing them friggin', I'm afraid to move my hands anyway, right? But they doing all them Aleister Crowley Freemason hand signs where the Freemasons have admitted they worship Satan. I'm gonna scream. And then all of us who are so ashamed, when I see the photos of us today, and all of them tend to be in these fabulous kitchens, these amazing homes. I've never seen one that looks as happy as these children right here. Look, I haven't seen the one. See, Trevor's got to make apologies, excuses for one half of what he defines as himself. And obviously from kissing up on a white girl, I don't know what he's kissing up on now, but still showcasing a white girl. His choice is with them. He's always going to prefer, ultimately, to be seen as them, even though he accepts that he never will be, and he had that afro up that hair his. That's a good thing. But that's what I'm saying. These non-black people, or these black people who are dying to be as close to white folks as possible, they are going to always bring little trinkets to us so they can then fool us into supporting their madness. So beware those Romans bringing gifts or lies or just more ways to control what we as a people do. We have to defend ourselves, because we are only individually as powerful as our nation is to protect us. Share the warning about Fukushima fallout, because when I look and I see these dudes, I'm like, that's what they're terrified about, because they can't put that radioactive genie back in that destroyed reactor, right? Or reactors. There was more than one that was destroyed. And you can assist the strength of our voices, mine and Dr. Shee's, by going on over to 25,000yearscycle.org, where you will get your healing done with all the information that is necessary to accomplish that. Because if you don't factor every part of what's going on into what's affecting us, their only hope is that that's what we'll do, because then we'll keep on just taking in the poison to our spirits, our minds, and our bodies. So I thank you, Sister Niche and Brother H, for your, Sister Niche, I mean that you probably got your package by now, but let me know if there's any issue. I don't think there would be. And Brother H and Sister T, you bought a book. That's beautiful. Furnace of Affliction. It's not just a book. That's a vital book, okay? All right. I love you. Mwah. Straight black pride, and we are good forever. Peace and blessings.